talk about the greatest footballers of the 1920s, one name towers above the rest: Hector Scarone. Known as El Mago, or the Magician, Scarone was the creative heartbeat of Uruguay's golden era. With Nacional, he scored over 160 goals in more than 300 appearances, dominating domestic football. Internationally, he was even more remarkable, winning 2 Olympic gold medals in 1924 and 1928, first World Cup in 1930, and 4 Copa Americas. Scarone wasn't just a scorer. He was a visionary playmaker, blending dribbling, passing, and deadly finishing in a way that redefined forward play. At a time when South America was proving itself to the world, Scarone became the symbol of Uruguay's rise, dazzling Europe and inspiring generations. Simply put, in the 1920s, nobody matched Scarone's brilliance. He was football's first global superstar. Next is the 1930s, and no player defined football like Giuseppe Meazza. The Inter Milan legend combined grace, vision, and ruthless finishing, scoring over 240 goals for the club. With Italy, he was the driving force behind back-to-back World Cup triumphs in 1934 and 1938, captaining the Azzurri to glory. Meazza wasn't just a striker. He could dictate play from midfield, set up teammates, and score spectacular goals himself. Nicknamed Il Balilla, he was the face of Italian football's golden decade, and, to many, the greatest forward of his generation. In the 1940s, football had a genius on the wing: Sir Stanley Matthews. Known as the Wizard of the Dribble, Matthews dazzled fans with his lightning pace, mesmerizing footwork, and pinpoint crosses. Even with the war interrupting much of the decade, he remained England's standout star, inspiring crowds with his artistry on the ball. Unlike many attackers of his era, Matthews wasn't about brute force. He relied on elegance and intelligence, making defenders look helpless. The 1950s belonged to Ferenc Puskas, the Hungarian striker whose left foot became legendary. As the leader of the mighty Magyars, he scored an astonishing 84 goals in 85 games for Hungary, guiding them to Olympic gold in 1952 and the 1954 World Cup final. His vision, movement, and thunderous finishing made him one of the most feared forwards in history. Later, with Real Madrid, he carried that brilliance to Europe, rewriting scoring records. Today, his legacy lives on through FIFA's Puskas Award, given each year to the most beautiful goal, a tribute to a man who defined the art of scoring. Now for the 1960s, and this was the decade of Pele, the Brazilian forward who turned football into a global spectacle. Bursting onto the scene as a 17-year-old World Cup winner in 1958, he cemented his legend in the 60s with dazzling skill, unstoppable dribbling, and an uncanny eye for goal. With Santos, he conquered both Brazil and the world, winning Copa Libertadores and Intercontinental Cups. While with Brazil, he lifted the World Cup again in 1962 and later in 1970. Pelé wasn't just the best of his time, he became the face of football itself, a player whose brilliance transcended the sport and defined an era. The 1970s were defined by Johan Cruyff, the Dutch maestro who brought intelligence and artistry to the game like never before. As the leader of total football, Cruyff revolutionized how the sport was played: fluid, dynamic, and endlessly creative. With Ajax, he won 3 straight European Cups, dazzling fans with his vision, dribbling, and the iconic Cruyff turn. On the international stage, he carried the Netherlands to the 1974 World Cup final, embodying a new philosophy that changed football forever. More than a star, Cruyff was a thinker on the pitch, the man who reimagined what football could be in the 1970s. The 1980s belonged to Diego Maradona, a genius whose talent was as breathtaking as it was unique. Small in stature but colossal in skill, Maradona combined explosive dribbling, vision, and flair that defenders simply couldn't contain. With Napoli, he transformed an underdog club into Italian champions, lifting 2 Serie A titles and becoming a symbol of hope for the city. On the world stage, his legend was sealed at the 1986 World Cup, where he delivered some of the greatest performances ever seen: the infamous Hand of God and the goal of the century. Maradona wasn't just the best of the 80s. He was football's most electrifying force, a player who defined passion and genius in equal measure. The 1990s saw the rise of Ronaldo Nazario, the Brazilian phenomenon who redefined what a striker could be. Blending blistering pace, unreal dribbling, and clinical finishing, he left defenders helpless and fans in awe. With Barcelona, Inter Milan, and Brazil, Ronaldo was unstoppable, winning 2 FIFA World Player of the Year awards before turning 22. He was also a trendsetter, the first superstar to wear colored boots. And in 2002, his bold, unforgettable triangular haircut became iconic. More than just goals, Ronaldo brought electricity to every touch, inspiring a new generation of strikers. In the 90s, he wasn't just the best, he was a force of nature, a player who made the impossible look easy. The 2000s were the era of Ronaldinho, the Brazilian magician who played the game with a smile and turned football into pure art. With his dazzling dribbles, no-look passes, and outrageous tricks, he made defenders dance and crowds roar. At Barcelona, he lifted the club back to greatness, winning the Champions League in 2006 and inspiring a new generation, including a young Lionel Messi. Twice named FIFA World Player of the Year, Ronaldinho wasn't just about trophies. He was about joy, creativity, and the sense that anything was possible when the ball was at his feet. In the 2000s, no one captured football's soul quite like Ronaldinho. The 2010s will always be remembered as the decade of Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo, 2 icons who pushed football to unprecedented heights. On one side, there was Messi, the Argentine genius, whose balance, close control, and creativity made him football's ultimate artist. With Barcelona, he rewrote history, scoring 91 goals in a single year, collecting 4 straight Ballon d'Ors, and guiding his team to countless La Liga and Champions League triumphs. Every touch from Messi carried magic, whether it was a mazy run through defenders or a pass that split defenses in 2. He didn't just win games, he mesmerized, making the extraordinary feel natural. On the other side stood Cristiano Ronaldo, the embodiment of power, precision, and determination. At Real Madrid, he conquered Europe, winning 4 Champions Leagues in 5 years and becoming the competition's all-time leading scorer. His athleticism and versatility meant he could score in every way imaginable: long-range strikes, acrobatic volleys, unstoppable headers. And with Portugal, he etched his name into history by leading his nation to their first-ever major trophy at Euro 2016. Ronaldo wasn't just prolific. He was relentless, a player whose hunger for success set new standards of professionalism. Together, Messi and Ronaldo defined the 2010s, not just as footballers, but as rivals who drove each other to greater heights. One represented artistry and vision, the other represented power and will. And in their battle for supremacy, they gave the world a decade of football that may never be matched again. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe for more videos like this.